What is going on, everybody? We're asking the question today, is it altcoin season? Now, that's a complicated question, and the answer is actually fairly simple. And I'm going to show you a little bit about this, and I'm going to show you what's going on with Bitcoin. I'm going to show you why we are or are not in altcoin season. And I'm going to show you where you can go check it at any time if you are interested. And it's actually pretty simple. But let's break it down. If you haven't already, make sure you consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the like button. Leave a comment down below. If you agree with me, let me know. If you disagree with me, also let me know. If you don't like the content, make sure you hit the dislike button and let me know how much you dislike me, because that's cool too. It's a free America, you boo. Anyway, so the first question that we have is Bitcoin going to allow an altcoin rally at this point? And the answer to that is, I'm afraid, no. There is no chance that this current chart, the way that it sits at this moment, is going to allow for a big move by altcoins. Now, that does not mean that there will not be people who are making plays. Does not mean that there won't be people who are taking shots. That does not mean that we cannot have some success. But what you've seen is a big move over here by the first of all, we're going to need a cooling off of Bitcoin. And as you can see from this chart, it's been running hot. If you haven't followed me for a long period of time, today is your time to start. But I predicted this happening right here, and that we would get back up into this range right here. And the reason for that is because this is a long-term trend line telling us that we are headed to about 52,000 before the halving. The halving is going to happen right now, Saturday, April 27. That is the instance in which I think everything starts to really happen. Now, if you haven't been following me for a long period of time, it's very simple. We're on a parabolic curve cycle, and it's continuing to play out. Now, it did broke down right here, as you see, came down below that trend line, but then found its way right back into that trend line because this is still in play. So that means that we should most probably continue up this stretch of road. Now, the question is, where do we go? When do we get an altcoin season? And the question that you can ask yourself now is, are we in altcoin season? And the answer to that is very simple. If you look up here, it's blockchaincenter.net. You can come over here to check out altcoin season. It is not altcoin season, but you can see that there's been a heating up of altcoins in the last little while. Now, when we get into an actual altcoin season, what are we looking at? That's what we're looking at. 10x from a Cardano, something like that. Caspa goes up 100x. That's when we really start to see capital re-enter the market. And I'm going to tell you that it cannot happen at this level. It cannot happen at this level because the retail investors don't exist in this market to make an altcoin season. At best, what you can look for is some institutional investors starting to take a real big interest, or you can look at new investors coming into the market looking at something new like a Caspa or something newer like Arbitrum or something like that, and they start to hedge themselves and put themselves into positions for those tokens. However, that money comes from somewhere else. That's not new capital entering the fray. The new capital entering the fray goes generally into Bitcoin and Ethereum at this point. Now, there hasn't been very much movement in that regard. So continue watching the charts, continue looking for new retail investors to come into the market. But for right now, for this moment, we're not in an altcoin season, but that again could heat up at any time. The last time we had one was in August and September of 2022. And when we got into that altcoin season, we did not see the same sort of rally that I'm talking about right now. So just because we get into this level does not mean it's going to be a massive rally, but we are starting to see profits being taken. We're starting to see good and changing sort of results. To give you an example here, Matic has been on a real tear recently. Now, it did break down just a little bit over the course of this year. We had a nice little run up through here in July, but we're now minting a new higher high. And that, by the way, is today. So today we are minting the annual high for Polygon, which has been a long time since we saw that. But as we come down here, we're starting to see Luna. This is about a year worth of chart right here, because Luna launched a little while ago, and you can see that there's been a real pressure to the downside on it. But guess what? We've now moved up above the 200 SMA, first time since February of this year, you're starting to see an uptrend on Luna, but that's not all. OP, optimism, you're starting to see another big move. Now, this move right here happened again earlier this year, but you're seeing a big reversal. We're starting to get confirmation of these reversals. This is Avalanche today. Avalanche had a gigantic move, not an all-time high, not at a local high or a yearly high even, but it's getting very, very close to where we can confirm that this might be having a breakout. Now, continue moving on. Phantom, a month ago, Phantom was dead. Remember, Phantom had a hack and it had gone down, and we had talked about this. And when we talked about it, we said, it didn't even come down to the lows of the FTX collapse. It didn't even come down to those levels, even though it did test a little bit in that range. But look at the type of move that it had when it came down to these levels. It had a nice supporting move and moved all the way back up to 64 cents. Now look where we were over here. We were at 17 cents and now it's at 34 cents. So 100x in the course of, I want to say, about a month and a half. Are we back? No. But are we having a nice altcoin rally? Yes. Look at Rune here. Rune here having just a fantastic move. This is the big number for the year so far. Rune up over $5.28 right now. Had a high of $5.40 a little while ago. Atom starting to see a revival over here on the Atom price action. Crypto.com did have a breakdown today on the charts down to 0.91 cents, but it was all the way up here at 12 cents at one point. We just reached a spot where profit taking became the order of the day. We didn't make it exactly to 13 cents, but we were getting close. And, this is, again, these are not breakouts. We're not having that. And this is not my recommendation, by the way. When I tell you about these tokens, I'm just using them as examples. If you come over to crypto.com and you start looking, or if you come over here to coin market cap and you start looking at the annual returns on the top tokens, Caspa checking in at 1,587%, no longer being suppressed by, and by the way, this was being suppressed actively by coin market cap and no longer is. So 1,587% increase, Injective 1,296, Conflux 720, Render 500, Solana 470, FTT up 300. I don't know why people are doing that, but okay. Thorchain 300%, Stacks 200%, Immutable 200%, Chainlink 191. So you're seeing some big movement in the top, but this is getting into the top 100. I should point out over here that a move like this, you were not in the top 100. You got into the top 100. You were not in the top 100. You got into the top 100. You were not in and you got in. You were not in and you got in. You were in, but you crashed and, here we are now. You were not in, or you were like right on the edge anyway on Thorchain, and now you've broken through. Stacks, same thing. These are kind of you were not exactly there, but you were getting close, and here you are now. But these are some big time results. And the question that you have to ask yourself is this an altcoin season? And altcoin season is not here yet. However, there are some gains to be made. I would be looking, do your own research, figure out the best strategy for you. But remember, this is a Bitcoin market until it's not a Bitcoin market. And in closing, we have to look at a reasonable level in which Bitcoin would kick off an altcoin season. And to say that anything but Bitcoin would kick off an altcoin season, it's just foolish. Okay, so with that being the case, let's take a quick look here. I want to give you 42,000 is going to be my number for the first time that we might see an altcoin season. Now, the reason for this number over here was this is the follow-up to Terra Luna. This is when we got 3 arrows, and this was when we started to get the collapse of all of the lenders that were part of that Terra protocol that were loaning out money. That's when we really started to see that happening. So that's going to be the big move right there. Once we get there, probably have a cooling off period if we hit 42,000. If we wick up into that range, then we're probably going to range right in this 38 to 40 range for a little while. That would kick off an altcoin season. It won't kick off a giant one. The next big move is going to be to 48,000, which is the collapse of Terra Luna. That's going to kick off potentially an even bigger altcoin season. Now, the thing is, if we come up here and this is the end at 42, and then we just kind of bing bong and range around here, then we're not going to have a massive season. If we come all the way up here in a much faster sort of pow move, if we get up into this range, then there's going to be a lot of capital being brought back down to this line right here, and that's going to kick off a nice little rally, because the range over here between 48 and down here to 40, that's about $8,000. That is a big move to the upside, and that's going to be a lot of profit taking. But when you get the giant altcoin season, the giant altcoin season is right there. 69,000, when we hit an all-time high for Bitcoin, right after that all-time high with Bitcoin, which, guys, the halving is coming. It's about 6 months away. When we get to that 30, we get that 69,000, which is going to be a lot sooner than you think. But when we get to that 69,000, there's going to be a massive amount of profit taking from people who want to sell the top of Bitcoin. When that happens, that will create a cascade into the altcoin markets. And the next thing you know, the altcoin market is set to explode. Trading at 37 right now, but that's it, guys. It's not financial advice. My name is Blaze Motters. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. And make sure you hit the like button, subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. It certainly helps me out. Remember, do your own research. Anything that I'm telling you on here is not a token that I am telling you that you should own or have. These are all speculative assets with their own use cases. The only one that you should be recognizing with the most legitimate of use cases would be Bitcoin, in that it is a store of value in the digital ecosystem. Otherwise, Ethereum, perhaps. But we're not talking about those. We're talking about altcoins, and we will talk to you again very soon.